It takes them a while to get here. They're only in the room.
I didn't pay full price anyway.
Ready? I got 7. All right, we'll call the May 27th meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had executive sessions that were held on April 29th, May 11th, May 19th, May 20th, and May 21st for personnel issues. Next is the public to speak, and what we're going to do, because I know a lot of you are here on the range agreement, and so I'm going to ask Chuck to get up and he's going to give you the pertinent information out of the agreement, and that will enable you to ask questions based on
You want Rich
the
to go
agreement.
first? Or
What's that?
you want Rich McLean to go first?
Rich is here, he's fine.
You know, I got a 2.5-hour presentation here.
That's okay. Go ahead, Chuck.
Okay. My name's Chuck Means. I am the special counsel that the township engaged back in September 2013 to handle the appeals from zoning citations that Mr. Shomi had filed involving 4 impoundments that Range had installed. And these citations at that time were on appeal to the zoning hearing board of the township. So I've been involved since then and presented the case of the township on those. What some of you may have picked up, and if anyone didn't, there's a copy up here. There's a proposed agreement to settle all of that zoning litigation. And what I'm going to do is read the heart of the agreement. There are a couple pages of whereas statements that lawyers typically put in that's just background information, but what I'm going to do is read word for word the heart of the agreement that says what the deal is and what the parties have to do or not do. So if you have a copy and you want to follow along, I'm going to start on page 2.
Anybody want a copy?
I'm going to start on page 2 at the bottom where it says, there's a number 1. It says closure of impoundments. Now, under number 1, it says A, it says Mount Pleasant Township 17 impoundment. Now, what that refers to is the Carter impoundment, and the agreement refers to that impoundment both as the Carter impoundment, which is what it has usually been called. The numbering for the purpose of this is Mount Pleasant Township 17 impoundment. Now I'm going to get to the other 3 impoundments, but we're going to start with A. Mount Pleasant Township 17 impoundment. Range shall, following the completion of gas well stimulation of the wells in the towered well pad 1H, 2H, 3H, and 4H located in the township, that's called the towered wells, cease use of and commence the process of reclaiming the Mount Pleasant Township 17 impoundment in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, permits, and the September 17, 2014 consent order and agreement entered into by Range and the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection as soon as practicable and subject to obtaining any necessary permits or approvals from PADEP. Then B, Cowden, Klingerman, and Stewart impoundments. Range shall, following the completion of gas well stimulation of the towered wells, cease use of and commence the process of reclaiming the Cowden, Klingerman, and Stewart impoundments in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, and permits as soon as practicable and subject to obtaining any necessary permits or approvals from PADEP. C, timing of gas well stimulation of towered wells. Range and the township agree that Range will use commercially reasonable efforts to complete the gas well stimulation of the towered wells prior to November 2015. Should the gas well stimulation of the towered wells not be complete by November 1, 2015 for any reason, Range will notify the township of the reasons and an estimated time for when such operations will be complete. D, reclamation. The township acknowledges and agrees that during the reclamation process, Range may periodically and at its own discretion remove water that naturally accumulates in the Mount Pleasant Township 17, Cowden, Klingerman, and Stewart impoundments, which may be accomplished by utilizing trucks to haul such water from the impoundments. Further, Range will handle such water in accordance with applicable laws and regulations. Number 2, Stewart tank site. Due to operational changes, Range does not have current plans to construct the Stewart tank site that was previously approved by the Township Board of Supervisors by decision dated December 20th, 2013. But should Range seek to utilize the Stewart tank site in the future, it will submit a new request for any necessary township approval. Number 3, release. The township agrees to discontinue the enforcement of the township NOVs, and in exchange, Range agrees to withdraw its appeals of the township NOVs. Further, the township and Range agreed to a mutual release of any and all claims, damages, or fines related to the issuance of the township NOVs. Now, those paragraphs I read are the heart of the agreement, and I'm not going to read the remaining ones, which are standard legal boilerplate in agreements, but I'm going to summarize what I read in this way, that all 4 of the impoundments on which NOVs were issued to seek to stop them from being used, the use will cease and they will be reclaimed. The Stewart tank site, which some of you might remember, was a different application to build an enclosed tank storage. That was approved back in 2013. That approval is basically set aside, and if Range ever has plans to proceed with that, they agree under this, they have to file a new permit request and start over to get a permit. With that, then the and by the best estimate of when I think and what information I have indicates that the decommissioning will begin. The latest is by November. I expect it may well be several months before that. And let's see, then as I read in number 3, we're not going to proceed in court either side. There's not going to be any more litigation. And with the use of the impoundment ceasing, there would be no point to continuing litigation to seek to stop their use. So that's the part of the agreement, and it's proposed after a lot of work, and it's on the agenda for the board. The board has to vote on it tonight. So I think, do you want to take comment now on that subject?
Yeah. Well,
There's other things on the agenda. We'll get to those, but I think the chairman wants to take.
we'll take the comments on this now.
On this right now.
Chris Law?
Chris Law, Fort Cherry Road. Couple comments. First of all, on, I guess, section 1A and B, the permit, or consent for the permit that was issued, they called out that they were going to use localized above-ground tank, holding tanks at the wells. Otherwise, they would present information. Was that presented to the board that they couldn't use the above-ground tanks? Because that's in one of the conditions for, well, both the masters as well as the tower well. So without having the information, I'm not sure how you can,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in favor of this, but I want to make sure we're covering our,
I think the board will have to speak for what all was presented, and I think everything has been. What this is aimed at is the 4 NOVs to settle them on terms that cease the use of those impoundments.
right, but you're making a statement here that conflicts, potentially conflicts, unless the information was presented to the board, that they had to use above-ground storage tanks on the well sites, well pads.
That will
And
be,
therefore, you really may not need to use these impoundments for those operations.
well, that will be determined whenever a application comes in for a well site.
Well,
That's
what
nothing
the application
blanket.
was for these wells, so the tower well site does need to be popular.
I wasn't here when that one was approved, so.
The consent order and agreement was entered into between Range and the township on 23rd April 2014. It's item K, which says Range will use all reasonable efforts to use an on-site above-ground water storage tank for hydraulic fracturing process for towered well.
If
So has it been presented to you?
if that was approved for that pad, they can do it.
Okay, so then why,
What this does, though, is, to answer you, is there's 4 impoundments that were the subject of the NOV. And it says that upon completion of the towered well, that then those 4 will cease being used as impoundments and be reclaimed. So that's very clear as to what this
well, my
does.
point is that the permit indicated that you may not even need to use these impoundments for that application based on how the permit is.
You may or may not. What this is
So you
aimed
guys don't
at,
know if that was handled or not. All right.
No.
this is aimed at the 4
4
impoundments that are the subject of the NOVs.
But it's also referencing the tower wells pad.
That's what triggers the cease use.
I understand.
Timing.
I'm referring back to the permit for the tower well pad. You guys, are you following
That's
my
it.
logic here?
You're saying that whenever it was permitted, they were allowed to use tanks on that pad.
That's what they were supposed to use.
Okay.
Unless they came back to you guys and said, no, we have to use the impoundments. And I'm asking, has it been presented to the board that they needed to use the impoundments?
Well, no, because I wasn't here when they approved that.
Well, something to consider in your deliberation. Second thing is on item 3 on the release. Would it be more appropriate to say that the township agrees to discontinue the enforcement of the township NOVs after completion of the reclamation and in exchange?
Well, what's going to happen is if it's not, if the use doesn't cease as provided, then township.
Then they're in
can
violation
continue
of
its
the
enforcement.
But you've already withdrawn the notice of violation.
You can always reissue
Start
them.
again? All right.
Actually, it will be up to Range to withdraw the appeals. And if either side doesn't do what it says in here that they're going to do, then the other side's going to be able to proceed as it wants and won't be bound. So we're not worried about that. It'll be settled.
And then I guess on item 9, which you didn't read,
Yeah.
it is expressly recognized by the parties that raised the right to transfer ownership and
Yeah.
operation of the impoundments. I mean, technically, they're being reclaimed. So really, should that impoundment just be changed to the Stewart tank site? Because that's the only thing that's going to be in operation once this agreement
Well,
is done.
I think the idea is that Range, like anyone, could sell property. They could transfer property. So what number 9 does is says that if Range would sell the property, anytime after this is signed, even the next day, then the new owner of the property is subject to this agreement because it says will bind the respective successors and assigns of the parties. We don't think on the township that we're going anywhere. There's not going to be anyone different, but you could, as a property owner, always have someone different in the shoes of the property owner. This binds a successor.
Very good. Thank you.
Number 9.
Paul?
Paul Batista, 28 Johnson Road. I really signed up for later on, but I got to commend you for what you're doing here.
You want to come back?
I'll come back to after non-agenda.
All right.
comments.
Donna Seaver?
I don't have a comment. I signed because I thought I was supposed to sign.
Oh, okay. Rebecca Skirpan?
I was just questioning on, they haven't been using the Stewart tank, or the Stewart impoundment, and why are they gonna start using it now?
I don't think there's
With
anything
this-
here that
this-
says they're using it.
This provides that the Stewart impoundment will be discontinued.
After the Towered Wells.
Yeah, all 4 will be discontinued.
It's saying that they can use the Stewart down in here.
Well, it says that the discontinuance of all 4 will start as of that time, within the next up to 5 months, but whenever the completion of Towered Wells is, that's when they'll be done.
That's when they're gonna reclaim them. But
Right.
is this giving them, allowing them to use the Stewart impoundment again until the Towered Wells are done? I mean, that
Well-
was one of the NOVs I know which you're withdrawing, but that has not been used for
Yeah.
years. And now all of a
Yeah.
sudden, we're gonna use it for one well site?
It doesn't say that it will be used.
But they could. The way this is worded, they could use it.
Well, they could have used it for years.
Yeah.
And
They
they have
haven't.
not been.
They have not been. Is there a comment by a range person that could maybe better answer?
I can explain. Aaron McDowell, Range Resources. The plan is for the Stewart impoundment is to drain it because right now it's collected. My understanding is collected just rainwater. So part of what we'll do is empty it for the towered frac. And then once the towered frac's over, then it will be emptied and the reclamation process can then start. So we can't reclaim it until it's empty.
So all you're withdrawing from there is just the rainwater. You're not
That
going
is
to
the
be
plan.
putting any fresh water or any other type of water there
That's-
to be used.
My understanding is to just drain it.
I think that needs to be clarified a little bit more than what it is.
Okay. Rick?
I was just addressing the old business as far as the contract that I received from Mary Ann on May 15th. I passed it on to Pete Dara, and he's going to look at it. He redlined a couple of things, but it was too much of a quick turnaround, so I'll have it for the next meeting.
Okay. Thanks. Yours is for later, right?
Now what?
Your words of wisdom are for after we're done with the,
Oh, good heavens.
unless you have something to say about the impoundments.
Yeah. Leave them there.
Kim Staub. I saw you come in.
101 Walnut. I have a couple of questions. The time frame on closing it. I have been in contact with Range, and they've been to my home and told me that they will be starting the tower fracking in June. It will take 18 to 25 days. Why are we letting them continue using this till November?
Yeah,
They're only using it for the towered well. When a towered well frac is done, they're done being used.
Yeah,
But they just wanted a time frame in case they ran into a problem and it took them longer. But as soon as the tower's done, it's done.
Okay, and when they start reclaiming it, how are we working the ordinance with the reclamation? Is it going to be like a well operation that they're going to be reclaiming it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day? I think something needs to be in there, especially the people that live beside it. And have they given you a time frame of how long the reclamation is going to be? For us living right by it, we've dealt with this for years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm happy that it's being closed, but my problem is there has to be some type of ordinance for them with the reclamation. Do we have anything in our ordinances for that or anything in the settlement?
The reclamation is governed by the DEP rules, and they'll have to have DEP permits and follow their procedures. If I told you how long I know that would take, I couldn't tell you that because it has to go to that agency. It has to be done the way they say to do it. And townships don't have their own ordinances on that because the DEP preempts townships when it gets to the details of reclamation. We did provide in here that it will be as soon as practicable, and it is to be done promptly. If the DEP takes time to inspect something, then that time will have to be taken.
Okay. I think that's it. Now, has there been anything proposed, like on future wells, of what they're going to do with the waters? With the water? Or that has nothing to do with?
Nothing to do with it.
This just covers closing the 4 impoundments.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. That's just I'm just concerned. And my other one is what Chris Law said. I don't think the NOV should be dissolved until it's been completely reclaimed and there's no agreement at that point. So, okay, thanks.
Thanks, Kim. Hugh?
Q-Stop, Mount Pleasant, long way. I had the same concerns as Chris and Kim did. The thing I want to know is on the reclamation, is there a completion time? How long is it going to drag out? Is there a time that's going to be? I understand.
Unfortunately, that's DEP controlled, and from my understanding in talking with Range, there's steps they have to go through, and then they have to do testing, and it has to go to DEP to be tested before they can move to the next step.
Okay.
I don't know. The DEP doesn't move very
As far as
fast.
they live around it, they can't reclaim it fast enough. Thanks.
Thanks, Hugh. Kevin, you want to talk later? All right. Adam, later?
Yeah, regarding the agenda.
Lou?
Yeah,
Later.
regarding the agenda, not the
All right. Steve?
Later.
Later.
You want to talk later? Jane?
No, I'll talk now.
Okay.
I'm definitely happy that the impoundments are on the agenda to be closed, but I do question the timing of now suspending the NOVs versus later when Chapter 78A is on the table with the DEP, and Chapter 78A's regulations are being looked at closely as to what the requirements with the DEP are going to be of these impoundments reclamations. I don't see any of that being considered when I'm looking at the reclamation. I'm seeing a very small paragraph that gives a lot of leeway as to how these would be reclaimed and when they would be reclaimed. I'm not seeing drop dead dates as to when they would be reclaimed. I don't see why we're being held hostage, per se, to the towered wells as to when we would do Klingerman or when we would do Stort. There's no reason that Klingerman and Stort can't be closed right now. I mean, there's no reason that we can't do this in a 4-step area. There's no reason that we have to use November 1st as our only date. We also have got to go down memory lane a little bit as to, we've had other impoundments that have been connected to wells, and when we get those wells done, we'll close that impoundment, but then we put another well there, and then we put another well, and then we hook that into another well, and then we brought some pipes in. We've had some things happen here with these impoundments that on an open-end agreement, it hasn't always been upheld to. So we have some real generic dates here. We have some real openness to this. We don't have a lot of detail on the reclamation or on the regulations when Range and other companies are going to be made very accountable when the DEP does pass some of the new regulations with Chapter 78A. And we do have to consider that some of those regulations are to our advantage, that there's going to be new grading regulations, new slope regulations, there's going to be new backfill regulations. There are going to be some things that I've looked at very closely on 78A, and I don't see of any of that being covered in detail on this. We're giving them a very generic, open area here that will start on November 1st, and then about November 15th, I'd like to see some drop dead dates. I'd like to see, we've talked before, when can Klingerman close? When can we close Stewart? How are we going to reclaim them? What are those regulations going to be? What are we going to see in our backyard? What is the ordinance that's going to cover us? Is it going to be 24 hours a day, this water hauling in and out? How much accumulation is allowed to be hauled in and out? There's a lot of questions here, and I don't see this as a cover-all agreement. I see it only as Range wants us to drop, they want to drop, we're going to get out of this court thing. But what are we going to get as a community in return? That's all I ask.
Thanks, Jane. Anybody else have any comments on the agreement?
I'd just like to add one thing, Jane, on the Chapter 78A and that. I think they're basing this on current law that still has to be passed and voted on. So I would hesitate to try and pass ordinances or anything on what may happen in the future if PA legislation.
I would hesitate to settle on less than we may get in the future to get satisfactory reclamation. You know, 78A is on the hot track and it's moving along, that we're going to get some pretty good reclamation on that. And so if these companies want to come in and reclaim now and get those dates in now, you know, there may be a reason.
Okay, thanks, Jane. We're gonna move on. Steve,
Oh, it's not an agenda item.
it's not an agenda item?
Yeah.
All right. Adam, and agenda or not agenda?
Agenda.
Okay.
Adam Ward, Captain, Plum Pleasant Fire Department. After speaking with myself, Chief Dry, in regards to the no parking ordinance in unfinished business, we would like to see Church Street in Southview, from the fire hall to Southview Road, no parking signs put on there. The issue being that picnics come, people rent the pavilion. The larger picnics, the parking lot doesn't hold the vehicles. They park on the street there. Makes it very difficult for us to get our engine and sometimes our squad out of Station 2 without having to go up through town, which isn't always the easiest thing to do.
Would it be acceptable if it was no parking on one side?
The road is narrow there. If people park far enough off the road, it's not a problem, but that usually doesn't happen.
Pretty much along the fence, from the
Yeah.
firehouse down to the stop sign is where the issue is.
All right, so if we made that,
You do the,
Right.
going towards South End Road on the
Yeah.
right, no parking, that would be.
all right. We'll add that to our list. Thanks. Let's see, Lou.
Yes, comment in regards to agenda item J, and let me preface my comment with question, no disrespect intended to any other employees or anything like that. At the budget workshops last year, I budgeted for a raise for myself that was comparable to what the Mount Pleasant Township Police bargaining unit was getting, approximately 3%. That was cut to what was amounted to less than 1%, as I was told money was tight. This is the second year in a row that I was given less of a raise in the bargaining unit, not even matching national cost of living increase. I also agreed to pay for certain line items out of the police budget using my Act 13 allotment money, such as vehicle repairs, computers, and operating supplies. In the past, I've asked the township my own contract as the chief of police, as I'm not the bargaining unit, but I've been denied. While other non-union employees have received contracts and even removals during this time. I continue to perform my duties and not only include the normal day-to-day police activities, but also the administrative work that goes along with it. I've always done as the board has requested and assisted them in any way possible. I have also not attended trainings that could have benefited myself and the entire township because of what I was told are budget issues. I think it is a slap in the face not only to me, but also the entire police department, the paid firefighter, and any other township employee that has either not gotten a raise or gotten a minimal raise the past few years if this is approved. The board often asks me why we can't keep police officers, and the answer always comes down to money. Here's another example of how we can try to keep people, persuade them to stay. This is sending a bad message to other employees of the township who have either bargained under law or in good faith, and or have previously been told there's no money for raises. We did not have money for raises at budget time. Where is it coming from now? It also sends a poor message to residents or other interested parties who have been told that certain repairs or items can't be paid at this time, and they have to come back at budget time. I'm not saying that people don't deserve raises, but if I was denied a raise at budget time, when I am told that's when we're supposed to ask for them, what is the criteria for a non-union or non-contract employee now to ask for a raise? Also, the police union steward approached me last night and indicated that she was told by a supervisor that this was already okay. If that is the case, what is the purpose of tonight's vote? And if it was previously okay, when did it go into effect? And if the vote was taken, is that in violation of the Sunshine Law? Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. anything else?
I'm late.
Or later?
Postpone our questions.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Let's go to Rich. He didn't buy any coffee this morning, that's why I made.
You don't get up till noon. My name is Richard McLean. I live at 1607 Millers Run Road. I'm here on behalf of the Mount Pleasant Township Community Center, and I brought a backup. Mr. Joe Wagner is our treasurer. It states here, it's a state of affairs of the community center. That's part of it. I'll get to it first. We've been doing some remodeling inside the building. We're updating bathrooms. We've got one in the Brandy Graff's dance studio at the cost of $12,000 just for that one, and we have 5 more to do. Also, we put in an in-house coin-operated laundry. That's strictly for the tenants. So I don't want anybody to come down and say, I got a pair of Carhartts that they washed. It has to be strictly for in-house. I had a couple people who said, what in the world do you have there that has to wash clothes? Well, we have a theater group there that in our next play, here's one of the gentlemen that's going to be in the play. There's 38 people in the cast. There's 38 costumes that have to be washed and cleaned. Plus our daycare has probably 49 to 59 preschoolers, toddlers, infants, plus we have the handicapped children, plus we have the dance. And Brian should know about that. So that's what the laundry room is for. But the main reason I'm here is we're having a serious problem with snakes. We had one last year, and Mr. Garner come down and got things going, and we cut the tree down. Well, what happened is the snakes are smarter than we are. They just moved to the next tree. Well, there's 3 big silver maples in the front yard on the outside edge of the property where the fenced-in playground is. And if you look at them when you go by, they're in their last stages of life. They're dying from the top down.
And they've all got holes in them about that big.
Holes.
Well, the snake.
The other morning I went down there, and well, before that, I get ahead of myself. The other day, they had the kids out there, and there was a 6-foot black snake going up underneath the sliding board, and one of the kids wanted to pick it up. And all we're going to have to do is get a kid bit. And I don't know if any of you people have any kids coming down there. Well, why don't you down there? Anyway, the solution to this, Gary, you ought to know, the solution is take the trees down. But these trees are hanging over the power lines. They're growing through the power lines, and they're going to be expensive. Mr. Blue, Pete Blue, Blue's tree service last year, I think he charged, I think it was a touch of $700.
It was $1,200.
$1,200.
Okay, this is going to probably be the same thing. I believe, I don't know, it's a rumor, somebody told me that one of these pest control outfits have some stuff that they can use. But I'm under, we, not I, we being the community center, have to watch chemicals because of the kids.
Yeah.
We've had problems with spray around the playground instead of cutting the grass. That, we've been lucky the inspector hasn't been there. So that is not an option to use a pest control. The only solution is the trees are going to have to come down. The teachers are afraid to take the kids out. They have to go out there and shoo the snakes away before the kids can go out there. And you know it's hot weather now, and they like to be outside. I think it was one of the parents was bringing their daughter to the dance class in the evening, and there was a snake on the back parking lot laying there, and that they had to go home because the little girl got scared. And most of our tenants with the exception of the old schoolhouse players, and most of our tenants are there because that's their livelihood. And we can't afford to lose one. So basically what I'm doing is requesting that the board agree to have the 3 trees removed as soon as possible.
I don't see why we can't go out and get some bids on removing them. It's a safety issue down there, it really is.
Now, Mr. Caulfield lives right next door to the township. He has a tree cut down today. I don't know the name of the person, but he's located in McDonald. He cut that great big tree down close to Tony's house for a little bit less than Mr. Blue. So if you'd want to check, maybe he could do it. But whatever it is, it's going to be a trick because you're going to have to do some of it from the street, and you're going to have a bucket truck. And I guess you're going to have to make the one call to West Penn.
Well, I think we're gonna have to call, probably gonna have to call West Penn to begin with and have them.
Well, West Penn's not too happy with me anyway. They think I broke the meter.
Well, I had to fix it.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. Yeah, do you guys agree that we should
I think this needs to go under new business.
put that under new business? Okay, motion to accept the reports as submitted.
So move.
Motion made, Mr. Densel, second. Motion,
I'll second it.
motion been made and second. Any comments, questions?
I have one comment.
Yep.
On the one report, it's regarding the permits. The one on Henderson Road, that should be Washington, PA, not Westland, PA. It's permit 2015-19B. I was just glancing through and
Which report is that?
it's on the Mount Pleasant Township.
Oh, Chris Salvini,
2015
yeah,
permit.
that's Washington, PA.
Yeah,
Oh,
just so we don't go throughout the whole year, but I just noticed it when I was sitting.
This one here, it's Washington, not
yes,
Westland.
yes, I'll change that. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The motion to ratify the payment of invoices for the period of 4/17/15 through 5/14/15 as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes from April the 6th, 2015 special board meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 22nd, 2015 regular board meeting.
I'll second that. Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt Resolution 2015-I. It's a resolution entering into a settlement agreement with Range Resources Appalachia LLC to set forth terms for the withdrawal of the appeal at case number 2014-1086 pending in the Court of Common Pleas of Washington County, and the discontinuance of use and the reclamation of the 4 impoundment sites which are the subject of said court appeal.
I'll second that. Motion's been made and second. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I realize that folks have raised a number of very good issues, and I think for very nearly all of the issues that our residents have raised, we have raised in seeking these negotiations. And it seems to me that we have in front of us the best agreement that we can account for. And I can commiserate with the folks who have been suffering through this for such a long period of time. And it seems to me that we are very, very close to seeing this particular problem eliminated. So
As we are.
that's my
Okay,
position.
very good. Motion been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2015-J, a resolution entering into a holding tank agreement with David Simmons, Simmons Hickory Farm, 55 Lawford Road, McDonald, PA 15057.
I'll second that. Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I move that we approve the John and Eva Evans subdivision plan number 2, subdividing a 112-plus acre parcel into multiple lots located mostly in Smith Township, but with 2 small portions in Mount Pleasant Township.
Okay, this was reviewed by the Planning Commission and passed to the board for consideration and potential approval. This is an area down on, or even upside down here, let's see which one I've got. Down on Cherry Valley Road, Water Dam Road, and Cherry Valley Joffrey Road, right at that intersection there, at that triangle. And as you can see here, I'm reading upside down, right here, where's the line? Again, I'm upside down. Okay. There's a small section here that's in our township for this parcel AR, and there's a larger section of Lot 1 that's approximately 5 acres that is in Mount Pleasant. Most of the 20-acre lot is in Smith. So that's what the deal is about, those 2 small sections. The reason I wanted him to do a subdivision in Mount Pleasant Township is because potentially on the 5-acre part, he could split that into a couple of different lots and make them building lots in that section. It is serviced by sewage from Burgettstown, Smith Township, and I have a letter in the file indicating that they have enough usage to service all of these lots. Of course, I'm only interested in Mount Pleasant at this point. And Mr. Evans is here to answer any questions that you might have.
Water down.
They have an approved sewer planning module.
Yes.
Planning Commission signed it.
I have the Mylar over there, if you want to look at the Mylar with all the signatures on it, some of the signatures.
You have all the signatures? Everything's
Yeah,
required?
everything seems to be fine.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed no. Motion carries. Make a motion to accept the resignation of Township Solicitor Neva Stanger effective May 31st, 2015. And also like to thank her for her services while she was here and the excellent job that she did.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and second. Any comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries 2-1.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the firm of Gehring, Rutter, and Bowen to serve as the solicitor for Mount Pleasant Township effective June 1st, 2015 upon execution of a professional agreement.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? No second. Motion dies for lack of a second.
I'll make a motion to appoint the law firm of Gaydens, Dussary, and Nicholas PC as Mount Pleasant Township's solicitor, subject to execution of a professional agreement.
I'll second that. Motion's been made and second. Any questions?
I just want to say that of all the 3 that we followed up with interviews, you know, all of them would be excellent choices for the township. My recommendations based off of, you know, I'm comfortable with them. Their price came in better than the other 2, and the services they provide service this township well. It's based off my recommendations.
So everybody knows, we did submit, we had an RFP on the website and we put it in the paper. We had 6 firms that submitted. We narrowed it down to 3 and we interviewed the 3 firms. And out of the 3 firms we interviewed, Brian's right. They were all excellent firms. We had to make a choice. Motion.
And by far, the most professional of the 3 that we interviewed was Gehring, Rutter, and Boehm. Far more professional, and they had the low bid for the retainer, which covered the exact same kinds of things that the other 2 firms would cover for the same, for a much higher amount of money.
And a much higher rate, hourly rate for that's pretty much all the work other than a phone call.
I lost, where was I at on that? We had a motion.
We had a motion, we had a second, we were discussing.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries 2-1. Motion to ratify a $1 hour rate adjustment for Larry Shomi with retroactive pay to the first pay of the year.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment on that since it directly affects me?
Yes.
I would just like to state that at the beginning of the year, I was changed from a salary position to an hourly position, and I took a hefty pay cut. And I spoke to the board individually about this, and I was told it was not an intention to give me a pay cut. This is not by any means a raise. It's just an adjustment to try to get me a little bit back to where I was. It falls short of that, but I'll accept the additional $1. I just want to make that point clear. It is not a raise.
Was that seconded?
I really just read it. I didn't even make the motion.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I move that we ratify a $1 hour rate adjustment for Larry Shomi with retroactive pay to the first pay of the year.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion dies, lack of a second. Make a motion to approve the trade-in allowance for the Truck 6 to Fida Freightliners for $13,000.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor?
I have one question.
Yep.
Bill,
Yes.
on that trade-in, off of that truck, we're keeping the spreader, correct?
And a plow.
And the
And a
plow.
plow.
Okay.
That's
Just,
why I went
That's
down.
just a truck.
I just wanted to verify that.
Motion been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve advertising for the adoption of ordinance 132, an ordinance providing for definitions and procedures for the issuing of building permits related to sewage authorization for a June 24th, 2015 adoption date.
Can we just do these two together? You want to do them separate? I'll second that. Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
And I move that we approve the advertising for the adoption of ordinance 133, an ordinance update replacing chapter 97, the floodplain management as required by FEMA, to coincide with the new flood insurance rate maps for June 24th, 2015 adoption date pending review and comments from the Commonwealth.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Move on to board member discussion items. Could we at the same time try and have the parking ordinance for that night too? You think?
We can get it drafted up. I mean, I know there was a list submitted, but I don't have like what you guys.
Well, I haven't been out to all the roads yet. Have you?
I have not been to all of them, but I've gotten to most of them.
All right.
And would like to
I mean, I'm of the opinion, I mean, we had the staff who drive the roads, being the road crew, the police department, fire department, the people that have to get through these streets. If that's the streets they're recommending, I'm fine with it.
But what they didn't recommend was whether it was one side or both sides. And I think that's what we need to look at, because like, my opinion, down at Marriage and Top Street, if we did one side, no parking, you'd still be able to get through. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what we need to look at on the rest of these roads is evaluate them. Do we want to do no parking on both sides, or do we want to do no parking on one side?
Okay, and I'm fine with doing that. The only thing that I would like to see in the ordinance, and I mean, we can talk to the solicitor, is, you know, stipulation in there that one, if somebody's having a party or something, they can call and notify the police department, let them know, we're having a party, we're gonna be parking on the street. If there's an issue, please let us know.
Right.
The other question I had is, are they all gonna be no parking 24 hours a day, or are some of them gonna be no parking from a certain time at night to a certain time in the morning? That's the only question.
My opinion, from what I gathered from these ones that they've submitted, they want them no parking, period, because it's an
When
issue.
school's in, you're gonna have issues during the day with the buses.
Okay.
Where you're talking about down Mirage and Top, that's bad for the buses. All these roads, I mean, during the day, you're not gonna see it. You know, like the plow guys especially, if you go out there at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, Nick Magus told me that down there on Top Street, Mirage Street, he's been at a standstill. He sits in the middle of the road and just plays on the air horn and wakes everybody up until they come out and move their vehicles, because he can't go forward, he can't go back.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was a through street was gonna be 24 hours a day, a dead end street or a cul-de-sac would be night hours only.
Right, most of the roads on our list are very narrow roads.
Yeah, I looked at the list and I agree, I mean,
Yeah, they're-
and I've driven every road on the list at some point, and I agree, I mean,
Concern of getting through,
Right.
those were the ones that we felt.
I mean, some of those, you have, if somebody's parked on them, you have trouble getting through in an F-150.
Yeah.
So,
Can we, of the three of us, can we try and set a completion date for us to look at the roads by next Friday?
that's not a problem.
Yeah.
And make a recommendation to
Absolutely.
Mary Ann on what our thoughts were?
Yes.
All right. 'Cause I think that thing has been around for years. I know, actually, I think it was presented to the previous board to do that and it wasn't done. So I think we need to take action on it,
Right.
get it done. Okay.
I also have an item.
Yep.
So do I.
Mr. Chairman, we've gotten ourselves into an untenable situation with regards to, I think, the ordinances that we declared invalid and the comprehensive plan. Whenever we declared those ordinances invalid, we started working on the creation of ordinances that would take their place and then be re-examined once the comprehensive plan was done. But that has obviously been delayed, and the comprehensive plan seems to be progressing. But it seems to me that everybody's waiting for somebody else to make a decision. I mean, we're waiting for the Planning Commission to make a decision. Planning Commission seems to be waiting for John Trant or Carolyn Yeagle to make a decision. Carolyn and John seem to be waiting for the Planning Commission to tell them what the community wants. And it seems to me that we ought not be waiting any longer, and we ought to give some direction to the community and to the Planning Commission as to what it is that we expect from these kinds of things. It seems to me that we are obligated to provide for the health and welfare and the safety and the well-being of this community and the citizens herein. And I think we're falling short of that because we are indeed vulnerable, having declared those ordinances invalid. And essentially, we owe our good fortune, perhaps simply to the good nature of Range, who has promised not to take advantage of us until we get that ordinance done. What can we do?
I would just comment in response to that. I would refer to the March 20th, 2015 letter from the solicitor that is subject to protections of attorney-client privileges and the recommendation of the solicitor, which is move forward with the comp plan and get it done before anything's done with the zoning ordinance. And this, I don't know who asked for this letter, if this just came, but if I have the attorney telling me to do that, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, then it seems to me that what we need to do then...
And maybe we direct the Planning Commission to move forward with the comp plan, get it done, and then the zoning ordinance follows that right after that.
Well, the problem is that we don't have anyone hired to help drive or to produce the ordinances after that comprehensive plan is done. Now, can we contact Carolyn?
The ex-solicitor, yeah, I would say the ex-solicitor makes a recommendation in the last paragraph that the consultant that's doing the comp plan, and I think I can read a sentence out of here without being in violation of anything. Your consultant EPD may be in a better position post-comprehensive plan to advance the draft zoning amendment that includes the recommendations made herein.
Then perhaps we should be negotiating with them in order to extend their work for us.
I have no problem.
I don't have a problem with that.
Good.
We can ask for a, do we want to just ask for a proposal to do the oil and gas?
Oh, I think we need to...
There's going to be a lot,
there's going to be a lot more.
There's going to be more recommendations come out of the comp plan, I would reckon, than just oil and gas.
Oh, yeah.
I would say so too, but your concern was really the oil and gas at this point.
Well, those are the ones that we've declared invalid.
Right.
But once that comprehensive plan is finished, we've got a lot of other problems with that zoning code.
So do we just ask for a proposal on the oil and gas, or we go and ask for a proposal to update our ordinances?
I would ask for a proposal to update the whole thing.
And it boils down, do you want a rewrite of the zoning ordinance, or do you want to update the zoning ordinance?
Well, we're asking for a recommendation as to what we should do, given that we have a comp plan.
Yeah. I think you could reach out and talk to Carolyn and get a cost maybe to rewrite the zoning ordinance, a cost to update the zoning ordinance based on what she sees the comp plan.
Then
there you go.
Let's do it and do the RFP next meeting.
We'll have something to look at.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? You have something?
Yeah, I had the house number ordinance. Where does it stand? This goes back to
a long time ago.
April of last year it was brought up, then June of last year it was talked about, and July of last year you guys made a motion to proceed with the amendment after the fire chief and the police chief gave you everything.
And then it died.
And nothing ever happened. So
Well,
The ordinances that we have is pretty much okay, except for the height of the number. It's just the enforcement of it that you need to tell me, do I go out and start knocking on doors and saying, you gotta put a number on your mailbox or on your house, and if you don't, you get a citation, or?
Well, if there's an emergency, they're not gonna get the help that they need
Oh,
because the numbers are too small.
I understand.
The numbers on the house.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah, there was an issue
Somebody
with
needs
them.
to enforce something.
There was another issue with a call on a long driveway, and you got a mailbox that has no number on it, and the last thing I wanna see is something happening to somebody because there's no number.
I understand. We made some changes down on Hornhead, there was some mix-ups down there, and they renumbered some things down on Hornhead a while back.
5 years ago.
No, not that long ago, but it was a while back.
It's been.
I just wanna know where, if we have to do the update, I mean, I went back, when I got questioned because of this call that just happened not too long ago again, that's why I went back and looked, and it was April 23rd, June 25th, and July 30th, and it looks like, I remember being at the one meeting, because I had emailed the actual International Property Maintenance Code.
Yeah, I think the difference between that and our ordinance was a ½ inch on the height.
Yeah.
So, do we want to increase a ½ inch?
I think we go with the size that's on the international maintenance.
And there was something with Hanover's too, and Smith's.
Well, Hanover, they sold plaques.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that.
Denzel had the copies of the plaques and so forth that we could sell to or they can obtain here by
So
something.
actually, that's something we could add to that June meeting easily, because all we're doing is changing the height of the numbers.
Right, well, even if you don't do that, even if you stay with what you have now, and everybody marks their houses, it's gonna be 1,000% better than what you got now.
The issue is, because we're so rural, the house doesn't work in all situations.
Right.
If somebody has a long driveway.
The house and both sides and the front of the mailbox need to be numbered.
Yeah. Do we want to do a letter to everybody, or pick out just those that need the adjustment?
I would.
How do we do that?
I mean, I don't want to cite people.
No, I don't want to do that either.
You go around, and if you see one, you send them a courtesy letter and just let them know, here's the regulations,
Right.
and it's for your own good.
Okay.
As I recall from about a year ago, there was somebody here from the post office.
That's in the minutes.
And I believe that the post office was willing to have their carriers put something, if there was a card that we would come up with, say just a 5x7 card, that they would put it in every mailbox, addressing what the ordinance is and what people have to do. As a side note, if we have those courtesy cards, the police department can carry them. I don't want to speak for the fire department, but they can carry them as well if there's a chance when we're not on a call and we can't find a place, and we can give them to the resident and say, hey, this is what the ordinance reads. Please get your house and your mailbox marked so we can find you next time.
And it's a good project for a scout project or something too, or a high school project if somebody's looking for some community service type of thing to do. That'd be a good thing to set them loose on.
Why don't we go ahead and have the ordinance redone adopting the size letters that's in the international code? Because then if we ever do down the road adopt the international code, it's done.
Yeah, I wanted to see where, I thought maybe I missed something that was done. I didn't think it was.
No, it wasn't done.
I didn't get a chance to reach out to Kevin, so.
It just died for lack of action.
Okay.
All right, so we need some kind of a motion, right, Mary Ann?
Not necessarily.
Because we don't have an actual ordinance or a preface to advertise.
No, that's right, okay.
I was to say, you could make a motion to advertise pending, so that if it's ready, I can advertise it. Or you can wait to make that motion in June.
We don't know if it's gonna be ready, let's wait. We can always do that in July. All right. Anything else?
No.
Speaking of the International Maintenance Code, that's something down the road we need to look at.
I don't disagree.
Right? You agree with that?
Yes.
I mean, all right, let's put that on our unfinished business. Unfinished business, Southview Ballfield lease. You ever talk to them?
I did not. I talked to Neva about it. I went to Southview Ball Fields. Somebody's mowing the grass there, so I don't know who. My concern when I talked to Neva about it was, and I think it was everybody's concern, if the softball was willing to take maintenance of the field,
Right.
just the infield,
And the dugout.
no. That was not my understanding. They only wanted to do the...
They only wanted to do, but we were saying, why are we gonna spend money if it's...
When we don't own the property.
We don't own the property.
We will do it if we own the property, but...
Right.
And that's, I actually went there again today. The benches would need completely replaced.
Their benches only by name only.
Yeah, I mean,
They will fall.
I took pictures of them. I mean, I have them on my
They're bad.
computer.
They're bad.
The fence on the first base line, the fence on the third base line, you know, needs... There's bases on the field and the field's mowed, so somebody's practicing.
Maybe they're using it already. I tried to call, I tried to call Brian Smith, who championed this particular idea last year. And it was my understanding then that the league was going to take care of those kinds of issues. And I haven't heard from Brian. I've left a couple of messages, but I haven't heard from him yet.
My opinion is, we shouldn't be spending township money unless we own the field on the fencing.
Yeah, if we own the property, I wouldn't have an issue with spending the money on what needs done down there. But with it being and I know we're not spending, it's $1 lease, but
I know.
Anybody can terminate it at any time.
That's
So
right.
it's,
And you spend all the money
we spend
down
all
there.
the money down there and then it's terminated and it's like, oh.
Well, I know that Neva has a lease practically drawn up, except for those few little items. And I think we should try to resolve those.
I'll see if I can get a hold of Carrie, but it's my understanding that,
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
She told me.
they don't have the money to do anything else other than the infield.
I think Mary Ann said they had told Neva they weren't gonna do it.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, my opinion, if they don't wanna do it, I'd like to approve the lease.
So is this done now? We're not gonna do the lease, correct?
Let me talk to baseball. I mean, I don't know if, you know, we got a pony league team, 3 pony league teams that are battling over one field down here. That if we can find something to take on the maintenance, or at least get the backstop, the bleachers and stuff fixed.
Okay, you wanna talk to them then?
I'll see if there's any.
We can bring it back up. but-
We can.
LSA money.
Transparency TV, we talked about that. No parking ordinance, we talked about. Anteel Street repair issue. That's
Guys, when I'm
Done.
putting one drain in, dirted along the road, I haven't heard anything else about it, so.
Anteel Street all done, taken care of?
Yeah, unless you're referring to...
Yeah, I haven't heard anything else, so I'm guessing everything that they did was to satisfaction of everybody down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Go back to public comment. You can talk about anything you want to talk about now.
Okay, I got three subjects, real quick. Just so those of us keeping score, your comprehensive plan, was that the plan that we had Mr. Trent start on? So
No.
that's a different thing.
That was the gas and oil ordinance.
Combining the oil and gas with it, that's what's confusing. So, it's moving on. The road department and the police department. I have to say, the police department, we've been seeing them more visibly out in our neighborhood. Appreciate that. Second of all, the road department was out widening the roads in our area. They did a good job of it. In regards to road conditions, Baker Road, it's pretty horrible. And
Yep, we know that.
I thought you were aware of it, but one of the rumors that I've heard is it's the gas trucks that are doing it. And just because Range is here this evening, I just want to clarify that I don't think it's gas trucks that are doing it.
It was the water.
The water lines, yeah.
It was the water line, but I've heard other people say it's the gas industry, and those trucks haven't been on that road.
We're having a meeting with the water company next week.
And so the other point with roads, and I will go back to the road, Johnson Road in front of our house. 5 or 6 years ago, Range did a well site back behind us, and they paved that road. And now it's been so 5 or 6 years, so now they went back to the Ferguson well and drilled 5 or 6 more wells. And we've had hundreds of trucks come by, and let me tell you, that road has stood up. We should be very proud and thankful that these people were putting their money into our community like that. And it was interesting to see it because I thought, okay, well, how long is, you know, them trucks have been up and down that road, and it is, I mean, you can ask the road crew. Nothing's moved or done anything. So with that in mind, I've made the suggestion before, can we get with Range and maybe work with them to find out, and I know the industry's kind of soft right now with new pads and that, but can we get with them and try and figure out what roads they may be possibly improving in the future, and then let's put our tax dollars towards improving roads that they're not going to touch. And we did that with Casey's Lane, which has held up pretty well. So
we've done that with a few roads.
okay, and that's the only one, the Casey's the only one that I realized that on, but I just want to say the roads conditions at, you know, Baker versus Johnson Road stood up, and thank you, Range. That's it. Oh, one last question. You guys had questions on some of the sewage things. I just want to make sure that we're okay. Mary Ann sent me some questions that you guys have, or with Cecil.
I think the questions we had mainly, at least, were, there was a deadline.
Yeah.
And then
we want to be compliant.
You wanted to be compliant.
Emily.
And it seemed like the deadline was going to be missed because nothing was being submitted. Then we saw the letter from
Emily gave us the extension.
From your attorney asking for the extension. So.
Yeah. So we're okay.
And the question that I had, I think I gave it to Mary Ann, was I was of the opinion last September when Steve was here, was it September?
They all run together.
Whatever. I was under the impression that he was ready to go to DEP at that point in time. And apparently it didn't happen.
I would say that that was our intentions, but we had to come to both you, Mount Pleasant, and Cecil to get their resolution passed. And that is what's taken longer than what we anticipated with Cecil.
Has Cecil made a decision?
We're hoping. I think that the last meeting, unofficial meeting that I went to, wasn't a township meeting, it was just a meeting with residents of Southview, that Cecil went through and did their, they explored with their engineer, Gateway, to see what it would cost to come up through Cecil Route 50 out Southview Road. And our plan to come and bring the flow our direction was $4.5 million. When they looked at it with their plan, it was $6.2 million. And you could hear people's heads turn towards Mount Pleasant Township and say, that's the direction we need to go. So there was still some more discussion about time and how long and the benefit, but it looks like and it sounds like Cecil Supervisor is going to go our direction with it. If they don't, then our move is just to continue the way we are with a package plant in Southview.
And that meeting in Cecil's next week.
I'm sorry?
The meeting in Cecil's next week, right?
Yes, and our meeting is next Wednesday, and I think theirs is next Monday, I think.
Right.
And it's been on their agenda for the past 2 months.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a tough call.
I hear you.
And I think it's moving forward pretty well. What they call the red line mapping and the surveyors, they're not really surveyors, they're just kind of eyeballing where the line should go. They should be pretty much done in the community with that. And Steve is thinking that within the next 2 to 3 months we should have some actual maps we can start putting out that are red line maps.
Has your projected completion date changed?
What did I say was a complaint?
I think it was. I think it was December 2015.
Yeah. I think we're looking to still be online. It's posted on the township website, but we're looking to be done with drawings and permit applications by the end of the fourth quarter of 2015. First quarter, we should be able to go into bidding, hopefully break of spring, we can award bids, and it should take us about, Steve's saying 18 months. I'd like to see it in 12 months. So that would put us somewhere around the end of 2016 to 2017. We should first, second quarter start being ready to tap in. So,
I think the original schedule said
yeah.
first of 2018.
It did. 2018 was the original. Yeah.
So I'm being optimistic about it. I'm doing everything I can to keep it flowing and keep it going. No pun intended there. But
All right, keep us abreast, thanks. Chris?
Yeah, along the lines with the roads, I think it was a meeting or two ago, there was some discussion about Fort Cherry Road, and someone should get together with DOT, based on the condition, particularly on the far side of Fort Cherry Hill going down. And most recently, I guess, probably the last 100 yards, as you come up toward the intersection with Old Town Road, I mean, there's large sections.
Yeah, I see somebody's marked some of them.
They've been patching little sections of it, but, I mean, that far side is, my concern is.
There's a
school
collapsed
buses.
pipe there or something.
Something there.
But
Yeah.
the school buses and some of our student drivers, you know, they're young kids, we're gonna have an accident unless someone sort of addresses that. So I don't know if someone was able to reach out to the DOT and talk to them, or, I mean, obviously, well, in my opinion, I guess it's due to the heavy
You've
truck
done it?
traffic going up.
I remember they said their goal was to just keep it passing.
Oh, yeah.
Where was that located, Chris?
It's going on the far side going down Fort Cherry Hill.
Down by the golf course, down
Okay.
past the high school.
I know
down the other end.
exactly, yes. I know exactly what you're talking
But if
about.
you notice the
Yes.
stop sign, like I said, the last time,
Yeah, it's-
the whole edge is
Right.
actually Fort
Terrible.
Cherry.
Right.
So we're gonna have some accidents.
I know Mary Ann just brought up, we did have some, via letter or conversation?
It was at the region meeting.
Oh, the regional meeting with DOT, and that was discussed, and their comment was, I'll let you tell them.
They just said that their goal was to make it passable.
That's not even that.
And that's,
But safety's not a concern. So
I don't know if anyone has, you know, there's an 800 number, I don't know how well it does, but if we get enough people calling the 800 number and keep reporting, the oily wheel gets the oil, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, so call the 800 number and keep turning it in.
I think it's better calling the Uniontown office.
Yeah.
The Uniontown
Call the
office
Uniontown
seems to
office.
work better than the 800 number.
Oh, yeah.
I agree, I mean, it's, that, from the school to Nobletown, it's bad, the whole thing.
Yeah, there's a storm drain right there too on Nobletown, right by Fort Cherry Ambulance. It's clogged, it overflows every time it rains, and it fills that whole area up with water.
That's a state road too.
That's a state road too. Yeah. It's very frustrating, yeah.
Steve Geyer, I made a request back in February about Sawmill Lane.
Yes.
There are multiple houses that have private driveways that branch off of the street.
Yes.
There's a stop sign, there's a street sign at the end of the street. I believe it's a significant safety issue. And my wife slid down it backwards with our two children into the intersection of 18 and 50. To me, I don't really understand the criteria of what constitutes a road by the township, and I don't see how.
There are specific rules, and as far as width, and that's been a while ago, and I don't remember, because we had it, and then you didn't come to the next meeting or two, and but that does not meet the criteria for a second-class township road. And
It's signed and the stop sign's there for 911 purposes. The road itself does not meet township standards. And the width of the road doesn't meet the standards either. If the road was to be brought up to standard, you know, there would be, the township could consider taking it over. The issue we face is there's a number of those private lanes throughout the whole township. And if you take one private lane over, then you're setting a precedence where you're gonna have to take a multitude of private lanes over.
So there are lots of private lanes that have several houses on it. They all band together and put
They're-
in, fix it.
They put money into fixing the lanes.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I mean, I don't know what the standards are.
I mean,
I'd
there's-
like to see a copy of them if possible.
You can give them a copy.
Yeah, we had them at that next meeting.
You understand what I'm talking about? I mean, it's a significant safety issue. And I just don't want something unfortunate to happen. Because I see accidents on that intersection all the time without that street. But when you, like I said, people go uncontrollably down in the wintertime into a dangerous intersection. And, you know, I take my children up on that road every day. So I would like for it to be revisited, or if there's somebody else.
We'll
in the
get you a
township
copy,
that
we'll get you a copy of the requirements. I mean, I think there's some.
You have to have a turnaround radius, that's what.
And turnaround radius.
Yeah, Chuck actually has a second
You
question.
got it.
It's width of the right-of-way of a public road in township shall not be less than 33 feet or more than 120 feet, and the width of the right-of-way of alleys opening by the township as public road shall not be less than 15 feet. The minimum required width shall be in addition to any width required for necessary slopes or cuts or fills. And then it goes on, there's township standards within the subdivision and land development ordinance as far as depths of pavement and everything like that, and all of that.
And there's stormwater too in there.
Well, the stormwater would have to be met.
That would have to be met too. It would be a massive undertaking, cash-wise, money-wise.
Then there's other requirements that go with it to put it on liquid fuels. We'll have to meet those requirements as well.
And actually, the residents would be giving up a substantial amount of property.
The one resident on the one side, for sure.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You'd have to get the person that has the field really to.
Yeah.
Steve, I'll get it and bring it over, and we'll see what we can.
Yeah, I just
Work
think
out.
it's something needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's not a very safe situation.
Anybody else?
If no one else, I got one more.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Being that Range is here tonight, am I allowed to direct a question to them in regards to the Carter impoundment?
After we close the meeting, you can. Anybody else?
I have a question on the
Yes.
comprehensive plan. Did the planning committee give you anything that, like, they're gonna have a meeting or something before June's supervisor meeting? About the comprehensive plan?
That will be
Because they were-
discussed on the next meeting.
Yeah, they're next.
Yeah, there was,
Yeah, they were gonna
We
do
don't
some
have-
discussion.
They're
with
discussing,
Carol,
I
and
think,
then
at their June meeting, and then there's a public hearing scheduled prior to
Prior to
Prior to
our
your meeting.
June meeting.
yeah.
I was gonna ask if you're gonna announce that, or you're gonna put that in the paper, announce it, something?
It will have to be
I think
advertised.
It'll have to be advertised.
Yeah, because it'll be,
Yeah.
it's a public meeting.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a
Pretty
public
close to
meeting.
this,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think she'll do that.
It's been a few months, we talked about this as the railroad crossing at Johnston Road at Hornhead in regards to Mark West. And the last I talked to Mark West was Rob McHale, I think it was January-ish, and I was under the impression that Mark West had the funds available. They got the go-ahead to put the positive displacement in crossing, but they were waiting for good weather. I wrote to him twice and haven't heard anything back. I'm just curious if Mary Ann has heard anything more about that.
The last I have is they told me they hope to have the upgrade done by the end of the second quarter.
So it would be upgraded by the end of second quarter. Okay. That's kind of what he said to me was. just
By the end of
sure
June.
month.
End of June, end of second quarter. We'll see.
Request.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
A second? Motion been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no?